What is the most satisfying thing you can think of? Is it finally solving a very difficult math problem? Asian. Is it finally getting into your dream college? Asian. Or is it finally getting the parental praise that you sought after for years and years? Welcome to the continent of Asia. Regardless, there have been a shit ton of satisfying moments in One Piece, and many of them involve Luffy punching the shit out of someone, Luffy punching the shit out of Enel, Luffy punching the shit out of Crocodile, and the fabled Luffy punching the shit out of Sharlos, which has so far been revered as the most satisfying moment in all of One Piece. And well, it is safe to say that that punch has been dethroned, and this time, it's not even Luffy who's doing the punching. This time, it's the one, the only, literally only, because he's the last remaining member of the Buccaneer race, Bartholomew Kuma. Mew? I'm just gonna call him Kuma from now on. Kuma's punch has been the most perfectly set up punch Oda has ever made. It has all the aspects needed to make it ever so satisfying, so let's take a look at all the build up that went into this punch. This punch had an almost entire 10 chapters of build up to it through Kuma's backstory, and man, this is what made it so satisfying. Saint J. Garcia Saturn is quite possibly the greatest villain Oda has ever made, purely because of how much suffering he caused in Kuma's life. In just a couple of chapters, he managed to cut Kuma off from his daughter, make the man lose any sense of self, and made him a slave for the world government. Oh, and don't forget that he used the robots meant to protect the world to become weapons of mass destruction instead. I have rarely ever hated a One Piece villain as much as I hate this man. He's the epitome of filth in this world, and the fact that he's also coincidentally one of the strongest characters in the entire show makes him 10 times more terrifying. Saturn is a good villain because unlike other annoying villains like Sharlos and Spandam, he's threatening. Both Sharlos and Spandam were hateable because they were just brain-dead, spoiled, rotten human beings thrust into a position of power that they abused to cause harm to innocent people. Saturn mimics the same formula that made Spandam and Sharlos so annoying. He abuses his power, does shit without giving a fuck about the others, and even hurt a character who we all hold dear to our hearts, which is what Spandam did to Robin and Sharlos did to Hachi. The only difference is that Saturn isn't on the same tier as Trouble on the One Piece IQ ranking scale. He's much higher. A well-educated man who knows more about the world than every other character but one, Saturn is extremely scary. He isn't held back by any human bounds. He's quite literally the devil, which is even shown through his character transformation into the Mind Flayer from Stranger Things but with a beard. Basically, Saturn is a good villain. He has every category needed to be a good bad guy checked out, and that is what makes this moment so satisfying. It is safe to say that Saturn ruined Kuma's life. He stripped away his daughter, his sense of yada yada, we just went over this. And this punch is Kuma letting out all of his anger. And what makes this moment even cooler for me is that it isn't him being mad about anything he went through. It isn't mad about the years of torture and hell that he's gone through because of this man. He's mad that Saturn hurt his daughter. The concept of father-child bond in One Piece is not often explored because, well, most of them are either dead or disappeared or just assholes. But when it is explored, does it fucking slap? Literally, get it? Because what happened here is actually that Kuma slapped, well, like, he technically punched, but, like, he punched. Kuma's fatherly rage is by far one of the most emotional moments in the entire show. When Sharlos shot Hachi, that was Luffy's friend, and while Luffy cares about his friends a shit ton, it doesn't even compare to the amount Kuma cares about his daughter. Everything he's gone through for his daughter is just absolutely heartbreaking, so their father-daughter relationship is just so special, and when Kuma has given up everything, and I mean genuinely everything for his daughter, do you think he's gonna allow anyone to hurt her? Another thing that makes this moment so good is Oda's art style. In manga, art and words go hand in hand. It's a medium that utilizes both techniques to convey thoughts, feelings, and most importantly, emotions. One of the things that mangas are best at is conveying emotion because of how it can use both images and words. In a sense, manga is similar to film in the scenario where changing a minuscule aspect can change the entire feel of the moment. Similar to how color grading can change the emotion of a scene in a movie, the way a mangaka draws a panel changes what the panel conveys. In this panel, the lines are more apparent, the cross-hatching is incredibly clear, and even minute details like these lines around Saturn's horn give this pattern the sort of raw feel one would get looking at a sketch. This type of raw and in a sense purely messy feeling is what manages to convey just what emotion Kuma was feeling at the time. It wasn't confusing. He didn't think about how punching Saturn would affect everyone around him or even to how close to breaking down he probably is. It's just pure unfiltered rage shown by Oda's art style in this panel. Speaking of not thinking, that adds a layer of complexity to this moment as well. Kuma, for all we know, can't really how do I say this? Think? He was made a slave to the world government, so the fact that he managed to defy them in this moment makes it all the more better. He shouldn't be able to do anything that he did in this moment, but his emotions managed to overpower any programming that may have still existed in him, and he managed to punch the person who he probably should have considered his master. And then finally, what makes it ever so good is that after so long, Kuma can finally reunite with his daughter. Punching Saturn allows him to have a moment to just hug Bonnie, and I think it's safe to assume all of us were crying tears of happiness for this man. After 5 long years, he can finally achieve his dream of just hugging his daughter and being there with her. Anyways, let's talk about breaks. What made this moment even more special was that there was such a fucking long wait for it. I've said this before, but time creates hype. The fact that we've had to wait almost a month for this moment makes it even better because we were all so eager to see if the punch would land or not. Any longer and I think the moment's impact would have waned and we wouldn't care as much, but it, to me at least, managed to land on a sweet spot where there was just enough time to create a shit ton of hype and make the moment not lose any of its impact. While my thoughts were pretty scrambled, it's clear that Oda used so much time to build up to this final explosion that pretty much concluded Kuma's backstory for me. This was the most satisfying moment in all of One Piece so far, and I will stand by this statement until we see Sharlos get the shit slapped out of him again. Anyways guys, that's it for me. Sorry for being so inconsistent, I will try to do better, and also just thank you for everything. Overall though, that's it for me. Thank you.